From Politics Live over at GB News. Reform declares war on the CPS over Manchester Airport incident as Tyson Farage slam two-tiered justice. Now I know at this point it's completely irrational to try and argue the case that the UK isn't implementing a system whereby the justice system itself and all of our politicians don't apply the law equally. They instead consider what you look like and what your background is, and especially whether or not you happen to worship at what appears to be a church but it's got a big golden bell end on top of it. That's the most important thing to the British legal system at this point. Everybody knows it. There's no point in trying to deny it. And obviously now some of the major players in politics are getting involved. So I'll read you the story in full and I'll give you my take as usual. And then I'll prove beyond any doubt that the British legal system is about as impartial as a particularly clingy mother who insists that her horrific ginger baby should indeed have won first prize in the beauty contest. Reform is threatening to carry out a private prosecution over the Manchester Airport assault if the Crown Prosecution Service does not charge the alleged attackers, the party has said. Reform will be sending a letter to the Home Secretary setting out their real concerns on the state of justice in Britain in the wake of the vicious, violent assault on police at Manchester Airport. Obviously, I can't show you the video of that because this platform isn't any fun anymore. I remember the good old days in about 2010 where you used to see like brilliant high-profile public incidents. You'd see really cool stuff on YouTube back in 2010 in the glory days. You know, people getting gored by bulls or thrown off moving trains. You know, fun stuff. And now I can't touch a video of three Asian gentlemen windmilling on a policewoman. You can't touch that with a barge pole. So alas, I can't put it back on again. But I mean, at this point, I'm sure you've all seen it anyway, haven't you? If you've been living under a rock and you haven't seen the video of a policewoman getting so many combinations she thought she was a safe off a much younger, larger Asian chap, just have a Google. Manchester Airport attack ought to do it. And you can judge for yourself whether or not you think those dirty, horrible, lying, slimy, violent hooligans should have been charged with a crime. Because it seems like if you look like me, you can't even fart in the general direction of a policewoman without getting nicked. But apparently, if you look like a distant relative of Osama bin Laden, you can do as you please. Weird that, innit? Speaking to reporters at the party's Law and Order press conference, Richard Tice led calls for a prompt, fair justice as he decried misinformation being allowed to permeate by the release of only one piece of footage from the incident. Someone very senior, possibly right at the top of Greater Manchester Police, made a deliberate decision to withhold the full footage from the incident, Tice alleged. Whoever leaked the second piece of footage did a great service to the national public interest. Yeah, so the liars that are in charge, I use that word on purpose because they're allergic to that word. The professional liars, the dirty smear merchants and liars that work for the BBC and the Guardian and the CPS and all the police forces in the UK, purposely, they love throwing the word misinformation around, don't they? They never just say, yeah, we're liars, because that's what they are. Dirty, dirty liars. No, they accuse you when you tell the truth of misinformation. Well, it turns out the misinformation that was being pushed was by them because they only released footage of a bobby violently lashing out because he just watched his partner, a young female, get so many left hooks she was begging for a right off some horrible, slimy 20-year-old bloke. And as I said, if a bloke like me even thinks about poking one into a policewoman, a right hook, obviously not anything else, then you get arrested and you get charged. And in the case of someone being, I don't know, rude to a police dog or falling over whilst trying to push a wheelie bin in the wrong direction, well, then you get 2 years in prison. They get you in court, tried, convicted, jailed within a week if you've got the wrong opinions. But if you've got the right opinions and you worship the right God, you can do as you please, son. Perfectly reasonable, isn't it? It's almost enough to make you believe in God, isn't it? Like Abu Hamza might have been onto something because it certainly looks like they've got divine protection, the regulars at Alan's Marvellous Snack Bar, doesn't it? Certainly when the British police or the judges or the authorities are involved in anything, it looks like they are indeed being given protection from the holiest of holies. But no, it's not God. No, there's nothing divine about it. It's dirty and seedy and corrupt. It's a little scrawny, geggy communist who can't even punch a punch bag without looking like he's going to dislocate both shoulders. We all know who I'm talking about there as well.
And just try and whack it. Yes, this is good. And again. That's it. And again. Try and breathe. Relax. That's it.
The British police want action, we want answers, we want equal, fair, prompt justice. Reform then proceeded to publish its letter to Home Secretary Yvette Cooper, accusing her and Keir Starmer of denying the existence of two-tier policing and two-tier justice, even though it's about as subtle as a boot in the gonads. The party's 5 MPs all signed off on a scathing letter accusing the alleged assailants of being given special, different treatment. And they've claimed the CPS is waiting for the IOPC to find some fault with the Greater Manchester police officers to give them a reason not to charge the assailants. That is exactly what is happening. That is exactly what is happening. If you've got 2 fully functioning eyeballs, you can see that 10 miles away. In fact, you don't even need 2. If you've got 1, if you lost 1 to shrapnel in the Gulf War and you're colourblind in the one that works, you can see it as well. Yeah. Stevie Wonder with a bin liner taped over his head, he can see it too. It's obvious to anybody with a hole in their arse, and now it appears the mainstream media, or at least some elements of the mainstream media, are reporting the obvious via GB News. And the letter being sent to Yvette Cooper, the Secretary of State, is in full on their Twitter account for everyone to read. But I'm not going to bore you with the whole thing because you can read it for yourself on X. And I think GB News did a good job of summing up. To give you the very, very short version, most of you have seen the video. It's a full-blown violent assault on a young policewoman trying to do a duty by 3 hairy-ass blokes. On no planet and under no ideology other than the mentally ill, completely delusional, alternative reality inhabited by the woke, under no other circumstances would anybody see a video of 3 grown men knocking 10 bells of shite out of a policewoman, which resulted in her getting a broken nose, and say, yeah, those lads didn't do anything wrong. It's a disgrace to charge them. Nobody thinks that. Even if you think the copper did overreact in his response to it, which was that famous kick in the head everybody's seen, even if he's in the wrong, they should still be getting charged. He could have tasered them whilst completely naked, right? Very unprofessional. He's got one hand on the taser, he's got his other hand on his cock. They should still be getting prosecuted, charged and sent to prison for numerous offences, regardless of whether or not they're going to throw the book at the policeman or not. It's painfully obvious for all to see. And I would argue in mitigation for the policeman who shouldn't have kicked him in the head. But I mean, he lost his temper. He just watched a young lass getting brayed. Can't you give him some leeway? You don't think? Basically, he should be getting like a written warning and a little bit of retraining and then sent back to work. I like to think that anybody who watched that video would come to the same conclusion. Anybody reasonable, whether they're right or left. But these are crazy times. And the people that call themselves woke have got a head full of horse shit. So here we are looking at this, where you've got to get political parties and MPs writing pleading letters to the government saying, yeah, do you fancy applying the law equally like you're supposed to? How's it come to this? But anyway, that's just my opinion. You've all seen the videos, you've all seen the evidence, and you see where we are now, 11 weeks later, when none of those blokes who chinned the police have been charged with anything. None of them. But they've locked up hundreds of people for mean tweets, but those lads haven't been charged. Do you think that's reasonable? Even if you read Owen Jones's scribblings every day in The Guardian, I like to think that that even you could agree with the Bootneck on this one, but let me know your opinions if you are obstinately refusing to face reality as it stands. All right? That'll do you for the day, ladies and gents. I hope you enjoyed the vid, and I'll see you all tomorrow. All right? Thanks for watching. Toodle pip. Cheers.